All right, I think I'm good to go. Hey, everybody. God, I feel like Dr. Nick. Hey, everybody. God, I feel like Dr. Nick. I don't know why I'm live right now, Nick. I don't know why I'm live. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I don't know why I'm live right now. I'm uh, not even in a talking mood, to be honest with you. I think part of it is because I have to wait another 30 minutes for some stuff to upload or something. Of course, it's wigging out. Hold on. I just switched. So I have two home Wi Fi networks and obviously my mobile phone. I just switched between all three. It's so weird. Okay. I don't understand it. I'm back to the original one. That's what's weird. I'm literally back to the original one. I don't even understand it. Guys, can everyone go to Miss Sandry's page right now and just comment, like, and repost her two most recent videos, please? Go to Miss Missandry's page. She's going to comment in the comments again and just amplify her last two videos if you guys can. So the recap is person on the left is Nurse Heather. She is apparently someone who has been well respected in Miss Missandry's in here with us right now, Brendo. Nurse Heather is someone who apparently was well respected. Used to go live with Chris Mowry, Harry Sisson a lot, and I've seen her on a number of other people, large creators' lives. And it turned out that she's 40 years of age. She has a 18-year-old child and a 16-year-old child. And it turns out that she had a schmexual texting relationship with then 22-year-old Chris Mowry. And I'll be honest with you, I really wouldn't be talking about that. Personally, I wouldn't have been talking about that. The thing that really, for me, set me over the edge, and the only reason why I'm talking about this is Nurse Heather. Then I spoke to her like 2 or 3 days ago, and during that live, she revealed that she believes that pedophilia is not inherently wrong or harmful. When I argued that it is inherently harmful, I literally said, "Do you not agree that it harms children?" And her response was, "I'd have to see studies on that. I'd have to see studies and statistics for you to convince me that pedophilia is harmful to kids," which was just wild. Oh, I'm so sorry, Swift. I'll get it to you. And we spent an hour, easily an hour, and I was as kind as I possibly can be. I was extremely patient. I was extremely good faith. I was trying to figure out, like, was she just misspeaking? And then it was revealed that she was somewhat of a victim of schmedophilia in the sense that, and I wouldn't call it schmedophilia, grooming and schmex. I don't know. We need another word for it, but she was 17 and she was taken advantage of by a 24-year-old, and they ended up getting married, and they spent 20 years being married. It's her current husband who she separated from today. And so when I learned that, and I suspected there was something about her possibly having had some sort of schmedophilic experience herself, and so I thought that the way she was trying to justify it was a form of self-justification. But I probed and probed and probed and probed, and it was abundantly clear to me that she believed that schmedophilia was not inherently harmful. And when I tried to give her the carve out of saying, so, okay, aside from you and let's just say for argument's sake, a tiny percentage of people, you would agree that schmetophilia is harmful 99% of the time, right? And her response was no. And when we tried to get her to give a percentage, it was very clear the number was between of when it's harmful, somewhere between it was a gap of 1 to 49% of the time. And it certainly sounded like she was suggesting that it's only harmful like 20%, 30% of the time. And the person on the bottom is Chris, who she was having this sexual relationship with, which to me, knowing her views on schmetophilia, where she believes that if the 16 or 17-year-old is mature enough, that it shouldn't matter, it just kind of makes it a little bit more disturbing. Brenda, we tried to figure it out, and we really did engage in good faith. And when we weren't able to get very far, her mod, JW, in the top right hand corner, he was fervently defending her. Now, since then, JW has tried to walk it back, but she's a non-licensed, she's a non-practicing nurse. Now, JW has since walked back his defense of Heather, but we know he's lying, that he's still friends with Heather, and that he doesn't actually think what she said was wrong. No, Chris is not. However, we've dug more into JW, and we're going to share the results of that tomorrow. And, the high level summary of JW, I don't want to mislead, but just to give you a sense of where things are going, I'm not seeing any schmexual pedophilic intent so far, which is great. That's what you want. It's kind of sick that some people go into this like hoping to find something. But we now know why JW was defending Nurse Heather. It is not because of the fact that JW was kind of flirting with an 18-year-old. I wish that were the case. It's because we have identified several instances in which JW was talking to minors. And by minors, what I mean by that are people who have their age in their profiles. And in this case, the age was 15. And I don't know at the time, it may have been 14, but it was certainly 15 as of, today. It was yesterday. Now, I did not contact that minor for obvious reasons, but we have ways of making sure that a minor is contacted to make sure they're okay. Hey, Yuma. And what I do understand is that minor has shared their screenshots. From what it looks like, it was not a schmexual connection whatsoever, but obviously inappropriate. And that connection with that MINOR was actually driven by JW's connection with another MINOR, although in that case, it appeared to have possibly been unknowing. And so, I don't, if we learn more, I'll share it tomorrow. But as of right now, if you want my actual take, Lowe, when she came up and said, let's consider his mental health and let's not tease him, I disagree with the idea that whatever it is Brussels and Sarah said was problematic. It was not. However, I do think Lowe is correct, or not correct, because that was not the point she was making. I do think that mental health is a huge factor here. I actually do think JW is very likely schmoocidal, and going through all of his social media, he seems to have been schmoocidal for at least a month or two, but it's very clear his mental health has been on a decline for the past several months now. And so my guess would be Yeah, JW, from what I'm understanding, JW also had access to these lives where he was also on these large lives, and more importantly, he was influential within um, the sort of communities where there are a number of very influential creators. So, for example, what I do understand is that he was very influential in Chris's community. A lot of people knew about JW in Chris's community, and that's pretty disturbing now knowing that JW was talking to Chris's community. And that's pretty disturbing now knowing that JW was talking to minors. And that's conclusive. Like I can share that that's not being investigated. That's conclusive. But his conversations with minors, like I think you guys have seen me go after people when I think they are engaged in something that is highly improper and schmexual in nature. And I would like you to trust that if I thought that was the case, I would say that's the case. My honest assessment so far, based upon the evidence so far, JW is mentally crashing and has been on a spiral for a year. He has been using money and often other people's money in order to create a sense of importance and value to communities where he otherwise would just be not accepted or wanted. And in that desperate desire for community to connect with people, for people to care about him, I think desire for community to connect with people, for people to care about him, I think he just didn't stop and ask himself what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. And I think he didn't stop and ask himself, hang on, I'm a 44-year-old man. I shouldn't be DMing a 15, or at the time, I think 14. I you know, I'm not sure I see malintent, or let me rephrase it. I don't see malintent with regard to the minors he engaged with. And what I think I'm more so seeing is a very sad individual who is not respecting or thinking about the importance of boundaries due to his desperation to connect with people. And I'm not now, what I'm saying right now, I'm not opining on what happened to Benny. That's a different thing. We're talking about whether or not he was talking to anyone under the age of 18 inappropriately. And I do think it's actually the reason why I'm bringing this up is not to dog on his mental health, or I actually kind of want to, it just kind of made me curious to make that point that there are people who could engage in this sort of behavior due to, it just kind of made me curious to make that point that there are people who could engage in this sort of behavior due to mental health issues that causes them to not respect boundaries or to be able to really establish what is appropriate due to their desperation. And obviously that is dangerous. It doesn't mean that he has to be pedophilic in nature, but it can still be very dangerous, even if it's not coming from a place of schmexual desire, if that makes sense. And, some of the stuff he did say was inappropriate. I didn't get the sense it was flirting inappropriate with the MINORs, but, like at one point he did talk about another child, likely never having yet had sex with someone. And when you just simply state it like that, it sounds like it could have been grooming or probing to get information or something. I really didn't get that sense. I really got the sense he just didn't know. You just don't say that to someone who's 14. He didn't have that boundary in place. He didn't have that, I don't know what to call it. But we're going to keep looking. We should have it figured out by tomorrow. I have been distracted by other major issues that have come up, which I don't know if we'll be able to disclose this week. We very likely will not be able to. But there have been some major developments in other things we've been talking about, which I hope to update you on soon. And I do have a disappointing update, at least disappointing for me, an extraordinarily disappointing update for me. This is in regards to the Noah Rogers case, if you all remember that case. The Noah Rogers case is the Peach Radio up in Canada, who I personally encountered some of the most resilient pushback that I have received to date from law enforcement in prosecuting any case against Mr. Rogers. And it turns out that some people who watched my live decided to follow up with the cops and ask, what on earth is going on? How on earth can you have, all this evidence and not have followed up? And I am extraordinarily disappointed and angry by the update, and frankly, kind of regret to a large degree even learning about the update. Because in many ways, I kind of wish I just had not heard. But what I am being told once again is that the Canadian law enforcement in this case, they are claiming they have literally still done nothing in regard to pursuing a case against Rogers. Literally nothing. Not that they opened it and they have put it on pause. Not that they have been considering it. Not that they've been in communication. That in 6 months of having me wait this entire time, they have literally done nothing. And I'm informed by the person who called up the reason why they said they have done nothing in regard to Noah Rogers cases. Who called up the reason why they said they have done nothing in regard to Noah Rogers cases. They claim that the police officers in Michigan who were meant to send along the police report have failed to do so. And when I heard that, I messaged them yet again, meaning, and when I heard that, I messaged them yet again, meaning Calgary and Michigan. And I wrote a very long diatribe of an email where I said, I've been informed that no one has pursued Noah Rogers in the past 6 months, despite the fact that I have been advised repeatedly not to talk about this, and that it's because you two departments are not talking. I want to remind you guys that I spoke to each of you, and that Officer Peck keeps on saying that he didn't receive it in Calgary, but that Michigan keeps representing that they did send it. And I outlined a very long email where I basically said that, here is the list of events and the timeline of how all this went down. And then I said that to the extent you guys are saying this is a failure in communication between the two of you, that I remind you of the email below, which was dated. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Let me give you the recap first of all. So the recap is that there was a person on TikTok named Noah Rogers. So the recap is that there was a person on TikTok named Noah Rogers. Noah Rogers is in his slightly late 20s. Noah Rogers was kind of like one of those Phil bros who hung out with Hypocrite and stuff. And Noah Rogers is someone who had been antagonistic towards a lot of like female spaces. Okay. Noah Rogers is someone who I discovered was a very dangerous Petritio in November of last year. And by very dangerous Petritio, what I mean by that is that he had identified within, I think it was Hypocrite's community, a second Petritio. And Noah and that second Petritio developed a schmexual relationship. And Noah was such a dangerous Petritio that the Petritio that he was dating contacted me and Odin in order to ask for advice. And as a result of that conversation, I found out that the Noah Rogers is located up in Calgary, that the other Petritio was a woman who was based in Michigan. And so I contacted Calgary and I reported what had happened. And the claims, and guys, if you can all say trigger warning because the next, I'm going to, and I reported what had happened. And the claims, and guys, if you can all say trigger warning because the next, I'm going to recount what I shared a few days ago, which is the most graphic stuff I've ever shared before. But what I found out in November, recount what I shared a few days ago, which is the most graphic stuff I've ever shared before. But what I found out in November was that Noah Rogers had confessed to the other Petritio that he had molested no less than 3 children. Had confessed to the other Petritio that he had molested no less than 3 children. One of them was on a couch. It was a friend's sister. The other one was in the ocean. Again, a friend's sister. And it was in the water, so no one could see. Noah confessed to that to the other Petritio. Noah also accessed CSAM regularly using the dark web. Let me grab a picture of him. Noah accessed CSAM's sharing URL. So basically, you do a screen share through the web that people can see what's on your screen, but you don't have to send anything. And that was disturbing because that obviously shows that he has done this multiple times before, that he knew not to transmit it electronically because I don't think I'm giving anything away here, but a lot of CSAM has certain code in it that when it is sent via popular forms of sending information, such as like Dropbox or using Gmail or iCloud or anything like that, that all of those providers are able to tag it and alert the federal authorities. And so people who are into CSAM have learned that, and so they no longer share it, they just stream it when they're sharing it with someone that they know. Give me one who are into CSAM have learned that, and so they no longer share it, they just stream it when they're sharing it with someone that they know. Give me one have learned that, and so someone that they know. Give me one. All right, if that was annoying for you guys, it was incredibly annoying for me because I suffer from performance anxiety when I'm trying to get all this stuff ready. So let me put up a photo of the guy who we're talking about. And let me just readjust it a little bit. And let me just readjust it a little bit. So this is Noah Rogers. And let me just readjust it a little bit. So this is Noah Rogers, who I talked about a few days ago. This is the person who I attribute really messing with my mental health. This is so I've reported, I don't know, a couple messing with my mental health. This is so I've reported, I don't know, a couple messing with my mental health. This is so I've reported, I don't know, a couple, and this one was by far the worst and the most disturbing. And I talked about this, a few days ago, worst and the most disturbing. And I talked this about how anytime you're like looking, I talked about this, a few days ago, how anytime you're like looking into petri videos and all that, it's stressful, obviously. But how anytime you're like looking into petri videos and all that, it's stressful, obviously. How anytime you're like looking into how they think and what they're thinking of and what they're thinking of what they're thinking of and what it is they are particularly looking for, you don't get all those insights. And in this case, stupid fucking app. Why is it fucking hard to talk? Like, I'm just, and the Wi-Fi fucks up every goddamn time. Shit. Molested total. This piece of shit shared CSAM slash child corn by this piece of shit shared CSAM streaming it over a streaming URL slash child corn by streaming it over a streaming URL because of the fact that he was at work streaming it over a streaming URL because of the streaming it over a streaming URL, not able to have audio playing. So instead, what he did was he would clip the audio of the 2-year-old child being raped. Child crying. This piece of shit also formulated this piece of shit also formulated a plan, married, and they planned to have a child off grid without the government the first 2 years, including discussions about having his dog, including discussions about having his dog. Now, Alright. Alright. I'm adding the word Wi-Fi. Alright. I'm adding the word Wi-Fi. Alright. I'm adding the word Wi-Fi. Alright. Wi-Fi is added. Dave? Is that what you're fucking saying? It's like the fucking app. It's like the fucking app is bugging or some shit. It's like the fucking app is bugging or some shit.